Holy, see the sweat I gave my hamstrings. Little hit. Hello, my queens. I am just about to go and crush a lower body session, and I am doing hamstrings today. We'll see you in there. I am just going to do a voiceover for my lower body session here and just take you through how I warm up, how I get ready for every single set and rep that I do, and give you some cues as well. And this is just the training that I also give for my clients. So first off, I am doing the first exercise is a RDL, Barbell RDL, and here I'm just using the barbell itself to really practice the movement pattern. And by practicing the movement pattern is through a hip hinge. I usually do about 20 reps, and it really is about just practicing the movement pattern and getting my body into that hip hinge movement. So over here, I've popped on some weight. This is my first warm-up set. Adding a little bit more resistance will help engage the muscles that I am working on, which is the whole posterior chain. So again, it's really taking my time and connecting my mind to my muscle, keeping good form, pushing those hips out, soft on the knees, and at the bottom here, I'm just really feeling the stretch in my hamstrings. And then I do my second warm-up set, and again, just a couple steps back and focusing on that form and technique. And as you could see, there are racks on either side of the racks. This way it allows me to unrack the barbell safely and that I don't have to lift it off the floor. So one big tip for you is to set up racks on either side when you do your RDLs, as you could see. And I'm over here, I am using wrist straps to aid in grip strength, especially if you're going this heavy. Having wrist straps is going to help you be able to lift the weight safely. It is not cheating. It's going to assist you being able to practice the hip hinge. As you could see, I've just taken it out from the racks as opposed to the floor. This saves me the energy to put towards this set itself. And again, as you could see, that I'm going heavier. The heavier that I go, my muscles are engaged, especially my upper back and lats, in order for me to not drop out of that form and have my shoulders rounded. So with the RDL, it is such an excellent exercise to build the whole posterior chain when I say posterior chain, like your upper back muscles, your lats, your glutes, your hamstrings, everything. So again, as you could see, the same thing. I think this is my first working set. I've done a few warm-up sets, and now practicing the same form, keeping that neutral spine from head to toe, soft on the knees, and keeping the barbell as close to my body as possible, and keeping that core tight. So the most common mistake that I see is that when people perform the RDL, they sort of arch their neck as they push their hips out. You want to keep your neck in line with your spine to keep that neutral, because when we tend to arch your neck, you could also arch your lower back, which is not what we want. So this is my second working set. I feel pretty confident with this, so I have added extra 10 kilos on either side. Again, as you could see, I'm only taking a few steps back. I'm not taking a huge amount of step back because you want to preserve as much energy from lifting it off the floor, from just only a couple steps back and just executing the set in itself. And again, it is getting more challenging, and we really want to focus on engaging the lats and the core the entire set. So with this, I think I did about 8 reps. This is my working set, and I have built it to get to that stage where I'm not just going from the barbell straight to this. There's a process to get to this stage, and again, it really is about connecting that mind to your muscle and focusing on good form. And just to let you know that when it comes to the beginning of your training session, you always want to be doing the exercise that is the highest complexity movement. So here is the RDL, where most of my energy is put towards this. And again, it really is about taking your time, being intentional when it comes to lifting a heavy weight. And again, I think this is my final set, keeping that core tight, so pulling your ribs down, keeping that neutral spine, making sure the knees are soft. And as you come up, you're pushing your hips through. Just know that the RDL is a hip hinge movement. You're not coming down with your arms. Everything is locked in place, and it really is about hinging that hips and pushing that hips through. This is my second exercise, which is the lying leg curl. Here you want to set up properly. So in the RDL, it is lengthening your hamstrings. Over here, I am on a fixed machine and we're doing the opposite. So we're flexing at the knees to go in the opposite direction, where you're shortening, you're putting your hamstrings in the shortened position. So it's the opposite, where you're at the first exercise was the RDL, which you are lengthening your hamstrings. Here, I'm flexing, you're hip hinging at the hips. Here, you are flexing at the knee. So you're working on a different movement pattern, and you're hitting your hamstrings with it being lengthened and here being shortened. So again, the first one was hinging at the hips. Here, my hips are locked in and I'm flexing at the knee, as you could see. So here, you want to make sure that your hips stay locked in position. It stays fixed, especially on the way out. You want to make sure that your hips do not bend. When your hips bend, like, there is a chance that you could feel it in your lower back. I probably did go a little bit too heavy. Here, I'm just taking my time, rest in between sets. And again, you just want to make sure that, you are resting appropriately in between sets. And again, here, really pushing those hips down, especially on the way out. And this is my third set. So I aim for about 10 to 12 reps and 3 sets. And a good tip for you is to squeeze your glutes, especially on the way out, to make sure that they're locked in place. So the third exercise is the single leg RDLs. I freaking love this exercise because it targets and isolates the single hamstrings and glute so well. So here I'm doing the same leg with the same arm to really hit the glute and hamstring on my left side. And as you could see, I have my other hand holding onto the bench to take away the internal stabilizers. So that way I have that support to really hit and target the glutes and hamstrings. When you're performing this exercise, you want to always make sure that your hips are facing forward. What I find often people do is, when they do single leg work, their hips on the other side tends to open up, and this could be quite painful on the lower back. So we want to make sure that your hips are facing forward the entire time. And really, it's the same as you would do, as I was doing with the hip hinge at the beginning, which was the Barbell RDL, where I'm pushing my hips back. Same thing here, you're pushing your hips back, but you're working on single leg on either side. And again, I have my arms on the bench to support me. That way it really targets and strengthens the glutes and hamstrings. So the way I've programmed that was, we want to also be including single leg work because we all have imbalances, and it's important to work on isolating the single legs to bring up balance so that we have strength to do the actual barbell RDLs itself. And we want to have all-rounder, so unilateral and single leg work is amazing to bring up imbalances. So moving on to my fourth exercise here, I am doing obviously a seated leg curl. And here I am really pushing this. You will start to see me really go hard at this in a little bit, but I really love the seated leg curls because, you know, it's very different from the lying leg curl because you're in a seated position. And personally, I find that this targets the hamstrings really well. I would say in the lying leg curl, like I also feel like it's normal to also feel it in your calves, which is nothing wrong with feeling in your calves. Like you need to be working on your calves as well, but I really like the seated leg curl because it really hits the hamstrings so good, especially when you're in that seated position. And when you're in this seated position, you want to make sure that, you know, it's such a complicated machine because there's just so many adjustments that you need to make. You obviously need to first make sure that the back you're seated comfortably. Here I'm just trying to go super heavy and I'm not able to get that down. So you want to also make sure that your feet stays snug in it stays fixed in that position. There's no room for your legs or your thighs to move anywhere. Here I really don't care about looking like a fool. Like I have looked like a fool in the gym so many times where I don't care because everyone in the gym is out there becoming the best versions of themselves. And if they laugh, then who cares? We all make mistakes. Have a bit of a laugh, have fun with it, but you're in there trying to get strong. So I'm leaning forward because when you lean forward, I feel that you get a much better stretch for your hamstrings. So as you could see, I am pushing as hard as I can and I'm giving it my whole efforts. I might be a little bit extra, but I don't care because this is really about me pushing myself out of my comfort zone and really targeting the hamstrings. And the thing is, when it comes to hamstring work on a fixed machine compared to hamstring work on using barbell that I was doing earlier, it is really hard for you to go to failure on such a high complexity exercise such as your barbell RDLs because, you know, everything must be switched on. You're using your core, but here you're in a fixed machine. You are isolating one muscle. Here you are isolating the hamstrings. So 3 sets and, you know, about 10 reps each. And then on my last set, I just really take it to failure. I think this is my final set. I'm just going all out. So I'm holding onto that bench to give me that support and I'm able to really stay stuck in that position. Here I'm going all out with my efforts. I'm really feeling it in my hamstrings and I think I'm just like, I'm not giving up, I'm keep going. So when it comes to how I structure my programs and what I do for my clients is that I always start with the highest complexity exercise at the beginning. So you got the barbell RDLs and then you got the lying leg curl and then you got the single leg RDLs and then now we are at the fixed machine. So you always want to be doing the harder exercises that is the most taxing, which is the first exercise, which is the barbell RDL. Okay, well, I am done.
Holy, since sweat felt really good. I gave my hamstrings really big little hit. As you could see, that set, which was like an all-out set, rest pause, I would say, because I was trying to go super heavy. Like it's just the setting because when you do the leg press, you want to make sure that your legs are snugged in to get into that really fixed position and to purely focus on your hamstrings and just really push and really grind. And that's the set. It just turned into an 8 or so minute drop set. So
I said leg press. I was so fried then. It was a leg curl machine. All right, so the next exercise, I believe this is the last one where I am doing a single leg hamstring curl in a kneeling position. So this is just another variation. So this session is a hamstring focused. My hamstrings is my weakest, and it's also important to work in different variations when it comes to targeting a muscle group. Flexing at the knee joint, I'm coming up. This is incredibly challenging, as you could see, but one of the best exercises to target the hamstrings. I find that doing single focuses on the single hamstring, and it just really hits more and you're able to get more range of motion. And with anything that has a fixed machine, puts you in that position to optimally target your hamstrings here. So I think by now my hamstrings are pretty cooked, especially from the seated leg curl. But usually when I program the workouts, I would most likely do any sort of barbell work or dumbbell at the very beginning, because it requires your internal stabilizer. It requires everything, whereas fixed machine is usually left towards the end where you are supported with the fixed machine. It takes away the internal stabilizers. This way you're able to purely focus on the targeting the muscle itself. So fixed machines are not only great for beginners, but it's also great to isolate particular muscle groups that you want to bring up strength in, which in this case it is my hamstrings. So here my hamstrings are weak. I'm going super light, and it's probably not the best range of motion because that's all I could handle. But as long as I am feeling it in the hamstrings, and that's the most important part. Again, I think I'm doing about 8 to 10 reps on either side, and as you could see, you may have noticed me touching my hamstrings, because there's just this thing where I am able to feel it when you touch a muscle group. I'm pretty sure this is the last exercise that I'm doing, which is the it is the back extension. So the back extension glute focus works on your back, essentially. Glute focused, also the glutes and the hamstrings. So over here, you want to be able to have your hips break at the pad, because I am super short. For those that are wondering, I am 159 centimeters, 5'2" inches, I think so. So I'm just setting up plates so that elevates me, so that my hips can break at the pad there, because without the elevation, then the pad just hits where my stomach is, and I'm not optimizing the exercise as I could, because when you come up, you want to squeeze your glutes at the top here. So here I have my back rounded. This way it really targets the glutes. Like, you could also do this without a rounded back. You will feel it in your lower back, which is fine, because you want to build strength in your lower back as well, especially when you want to do a barbell back squat, you want to do barbell deadlifts, or anything that involves your posterior chain. This has a huge carryover to your squats, your deadlifts, your RDLs, and all of those kind of things. So here, everything that you do serves a purpose to everything else that you do when it comes to squatting heavier, deadlifting heavier, like everything. You're building strength so that this helps with those bigger lifts. So again, here it really is about building the posterior chain, keeping the core tight. I think by now I'm pretty fatigued from the exercises that I've been doing previously, and again just finishing off with a body weight and connecting my mind to your muscle. And it's so normal that you will fatigue throughout your entire session, and generally towards the end I'm not able to push as hard. If you like more videos like these where I sort of go through my training session and do a voiceover, please do let me know in the comments below. And if you have a question around training your hamstrings, please do let me know in the comments below, and I will try and get to that in a future video. Thank you so much. Training summary, I just smashed out my hamstrings and glute. It was more hamstring focused workout, and I'm feeling really good, and I feel that I'm just going through a phase right now where I'm picking up momentum and I'm feeling quite motivated to continue this progress. And I made a video a couple of weeks ago where I did share about how I wasn't really feeling motivated, and I just feel like I'm going through a phase right now where I'm keeping that momentum up. So I'm feeling really motivated. When it comes to training, especially for someone like me that hasn't been training for a very long time, you go through seasons, and there'll be seasons where you just don't feel like this is my routine. And you ride through that difficult phase to get to a phase now where it feels like, wow, like things are moving. And and I suppose that's the beauty of this lifting journey. I don't want to encourage you to see lifting weights as just a period of time where you just go all in and then you never see it again, and then you go all in. Like, there will be times where you think of it as you're dialing it up and then you're dialing it down. As long as you don't lose the why and that you are lifting weights for the health benefits, and this is why I'm so passionate in. I see that lifting weights goes far beyond just getting muscle. Yes, it is about getting strong, but getting strong in the mind, it really is for that mental well-being, that mental resilience. Or you train your mind to see lifting weights as part of your lifestyle, where there'll be periods of time where you dial it down, dial it up. It's a continual work in progress, and I really feel that this can be a lifestyle change for every single person. Implement some form of lifting weights. I just want to remind you all that your mind is your most powerful asset, and that we are a lot stronger than you think. I'm here cheering for you, and you got this. So I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you